And welcome back. And in our final segment for today, very important conversation talking about manatee conservation. And who else would be joining us for this segment but Jamal Galvez, Program Coordinator for the Belize Manatee Conservation Project. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Marlene, and thanks for having me here again today.
Jamal, it's going to be, I think, a difficult conversation because while we have had you on several times talking about the different efforts and the importance of protecting our manatees, this year for 2015 has started off with a very grim situation.
Correct. I think it's a continuation from last year with us having 34 deaths last year, which is the most recorded in any year since the conservation effort have started. And in just 3 months to have racked up that amount of manatees.
We're currently at 19.
19. So we literally haven't gone through a week without a dead manatee. Some weeks I'm at Thursday and I'm fingers crossed, none yet. And then Friday morning, boom, somebody calls it's a dead manatee in front of my house, which is very depressing. Because I have been putting efforts in to try and go through a week without hearing about one, but it gotten worse. Some weeks we have seen 2 dead manatees, which is a deep reason for concern, and I think that Belizeans should be aware of the situation.
Now, let's look at the cause of these deaths. Is it all linked primarily to mariners or accidents with boats?
First, majority of them are in the area of the Belize River mouth, which is a heavily trafficked area. Out of the 19, there's only 1 was from Placencia. The other 18 was from the Belize City area. And like I said, it's the Belize River area, which is an area of massive concern. It's an important area from not only for manatees, but for tourism and for other marine animals. Manatees do need fresh water to survive, like we do need fresh water, so they do have to go at the river mouth at some point. And it's an area heavily trafficked, and majority of the deaths so far have been as a result of watercraft collision.
Now, for you who've been working in manatee conservation for quite some time, seeing this as an indicator, both last year having such a large number and this year starting off with so many deaths due to the very same issue that you have been trying to educate people on, what does this mean for the conservation efforts? Is it a stop and re-strategize moment?
Not necessarily stop. I don't think there's any room for stopping. There's no room for any halt or any room for sitting down and trying to start all over. We've made great strides over the years. A couple things have worked. Some things haven't worked, but we realize that we have key stakeholders that do need to come to the table in order for us to make things happen. Port Authority being one of the main stakeholders, the authority responsible for maritime boat traffic. The Forestry Department has the mandate on manatees, so they're the government body responsible for manatees. BTB, we brought them to the table because tourism has been a problem for manatees. I believe that tourism can occur and manatees can be alive as well. We do want tourists to come to Belize to see manatees. We're not hiding them from them. We don't want, if we have something that nobody else have, why not show it off? Why not boast it? Why not show off now? So we brought BTB to the table as well, and they have been very cooperative, very supportive. Places like FSTV and 4th Street Tourist Village have been supportive because that's the area where they leave from. They've allowed us to want to come in and trying to do awareness inside there. So these tourists that goes on these boats know that they have a responsibility to make sure the boat captains slow down and respect no wake signs. So we brought all the parts of the puzzles to the table, and we're hoping that when we sat down, we presented to them what was the situation, what they thought they can do, and see how we can actually come together and make it work now.
What was their reaction? What have they identified as the problem?
Everybody realized the problem is the tour boats do go into the river for a part of their tour. In the morning, they look at manatees, so they're going slowly to see the manatees. But after they finish the river tour, they're complete with the tour. On the way back, they're just passing through very fast, not thinking that, you know what, we need these manatees tomorrow. That's an area where manatees always are. I've never gone to that place and not seen a manatee. So if you can bring tourists there and collect a fee without paying a park fee or anything, you're making 100% profit. Why jeopardize that? Why? Like, I mean, that's not smart for your business at all. No?
And then the speeding out, even though there are no wake zone signs.
Correct. But what we've realized from sitting out there numerous times watching these boats go by and monitoring manatees in that area for a couple of years now, because that is the hot spot for manatee watercraft collisions. Because the channel is not clearly marked, each boat captain has their own part that they take. So some manatees are basically confused. They don't know which direction the boats are coming from, because if you're coming from that way and I'm coming from that way and I'm coming.
Oh.
It's kind of like standing in the middle of a highway while traffic just go by.
So there's no safe zone that they can find.
Exactly. So, and the thing is, manatees can hear very well, but they cannot tell the direction the boats are coming from. So that's one of the reasons why they often get hit by boats. Sometimes they just stay still, don't move at all, and the boat runs right over them. The Belize River boat is a shallow area. Say if a manatee, if it's 4 feet of water, and the boat is sitting at 4 feet and the engine is projected down to 3 feet into the water, a manatee has no space between the engine and the sea floor to get away from the boat. So normally you'll see them take off towards the deeper water that they can dive down. But they are slow moving animals. The boat comes by very quickly. It's very difficult for them to get out of the way. So our plan is to BTB has been kind enough to donate the buoys to try and mark the channels, so that boat stays on the path. That way, eventually, manatees will learn that, you know what, that's the boat channel, let's stay off. We've seen it work in Florida and other parts of the world. We're hoping that it can work here as well, but hopefully in time before we've killed off all the manatees in that area. And to also put the signs on the channel, because there's no channel, boats don't necessarily go by the sign. So a lot of them complain, oh, we don't see the sign, but they know the sign. Everybody knows that area is a no-wake zone.
I was just going to say, there is a no-wake zone sign in that area already.
Everybody knows it, and I mean, the goal is to always educate and to try and to get people to care, to want to change. But I realize you can't get everybody to do so, and the ones that choose not to do so have to be penalized and brought to the public eyes, because I mean, Port Authority have come on board and they are going to be correct. They're going to be penalizing people that do not.
So let me ask you about that. What has it been like engaging the Port Authority in terms of monitoring the activity in the channel, and whether it's a stop, whether it's a warning issued or a fine or whatever it is? What is what has the engagement been like with them at this point?
The port has been very much on board. I mean, I think we presented to them and convinced them that there's a need for them to get on board, and it's a problem. I think that many other organizations are financially, they don't have the finance to actually carry out these activities. It's expensive to go out there and monitor boat traffic every day. But we would hope that people would just slow down, that we can put the finance into other things that are needed to help the conservation effort. But they are on board. We're trying to source ways of making it work. I mean, there's not much support from manatee conservation in Belize in terms of financially. The majority of the funds that we do use to do this work are from writing grants, raising funds. We do get support from minor companies like Boeing, FSTV, Tropic offer every now and then, and so forth. But we're hoping that Belizean organization, businesses will see the need and want to give to this effort. I mean, manatees may not be a customer of yours, they don't pay tax, they don't vote, so maybe it doesn't appeal to government bodies that easily, you know.
But it is a tourist attraction.
It is a tourist attraction, and I think that it's not measured properly. The impact it is for Belize is not measured properly. I mean, if you go to places like Australia or any other part of the world and you ask for the Antillian manatees, they tell you, you better go to Belize because that's the way you see the best in the world. I mean, I've gone to other countries where I see the laws protecting manatees are like serious, and in Belize here, the law, a 1981 Wildlife Protection Act law that since I was young, I've been hearing it's been revised and it will be changed, and it hasn't happened as yet, and we need to put penalties in place.
And that's what I was going to ask. Is there any fine or repercussion for a person who is driving a boat who injures a manatee?
Correct. There is a fine. The Forestry Department can fine you because under the Wildlife Protection Act UK, you should not harm, harass, molest, have in a position at any time a manatee. But I mean, you do hit manatees by accident. If you're traveling in open sea and you hit a manatee, I can be upset with you because that accidents do happen. But if you're traveling at a high speed in a no-wake zone and hit a manatee, that's ludicrous. I mean,
then it's almost deliberate because you knew that was a risk.
Exactly, and there is a penalty. The port authority can fine you for it, and the forestry can fine you to $1,000, which is a small fine for an endangered species. I mean, other parts of the world, an endangered species, you wouldn't even think about harming an endangered species because the penalties are so major.
Yeah.
$1,000 to a couple, or 6 months in prison is very small.
But it's difficult to even find out who was the one who caused the injury.
So the goal is to also, we'll be monitoring the area after you put in the NOx, the buoys and the signs and stuff like that. We'll be having a video camera to monitor, because port authority can't really prosecute without the evidence.
Yeah.
Because you go to court and you go back and forth and nothing comes out of it. So to get it to finish it off is to probably get a camera out there to monitor both traffics, and to these people, if the court doesn't do anything about it, we're going to bring them into the public eye. We're going to broadcast them on the news and have people know these are the people doing these activities.
Jamal, on average, do you have an idea of how many boats travel the area on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, you'd see around 12 boats, but majority of them are bigger boats, bigger tour boats.
Okay.
They do have small boats traveling the area from like the fishing lodge and some private motorcraft.
Okay.
But these people are people that I believe that I'm seeing slow down, because they do care, they do respect the zones, and these are the people that do call in the boats that don't slow down, because these people live on the river and they too hate when the boats go by fast, because it erodes your land.
Yeah.
It have their boats beating against your docks and stuff like that. And from the people ask me, how do I know it's the tour boats? But I mean, from the animals that do get hit by boats, the side of the watercraft, the chop wounds, are not from small boats. They're from bigger boats moving very fast.
So your suspicion is, or based on the evidence that you've seen so far, it's most likely the larger tour boats that are causing these injuries.
Correct. I mean, a small Yamaha 40-35 power Yamaha it could kill a manatee, but the chop wound wouldn't be
as
that
severe.
I mean, some of these animals have their tails severed or cut wounds that big that allow their lungs to be exposed. And manatees are tough, they're resilient, and they tend to heal just fine, but those impacts are very difficult to heal. Not even us can heal those animals. If you do hit a manatee, it's good to report it for us to go out there and see how we can help. Don't leave the animal out there to bleed out and suffer. There's no sense in that. I mean, last couple of weeks ago, they had 2 deaths. I took some kids from Stella Maris out to see manatees at the river mouth, and we saw 2 mother and calf at the river mouth the Saturday. Not knowing the Tuesday, I got a call. There's 2 dead manatee, a mother and a calf. We found the mother with huge boat strikes, and the calf just there dead.
And the calf died because the mother died, not because he was injured.
She wasn't hit or anything, but a calf won't survive without this mother. It's very dependent.
They're very close.
Very, very dependent on its mother, so there's no way it will survive without this mother. So we often try to, even if you hit a manatee, we ask that you report it so we can do something about it. I mean, leaving an animal out there to suffer isn't the nicest thing to do. I mean,
now, Jamal, obviously this is just a very easy issue for conservationists to grasp, why it's important to protect these animals. But for people out there who are perhaps still seeing the bottom line, that I need to get my tour in on time, I need to make my money, I want to make a good tip for having good time on my trip back, whatever it is. What do you say to those people about why it is so important to do what is necessary to protect these species?
I mean, you may not go on the waterway, you may not own a boat, you may not live close to the ocean, but you do play a role. Each Belizean have the privilege of saying, you know what, my country have the highest population of this species in the world. It's something that we should embrace and I mean, be proud of it, because nobody else in the world has this, for one. And manatees are the only herbivorous mammals in our waterways, meaning the only one eating the seagrass. I like to call them the land mowers of the sea. They eat 9% of their body weight, which is a lot, because they eat so much, they excrete a lot. What goes in must comes out. The excretion is food for small fishes. Big fish eat small fish, and we eat big fish. So if we take manatees out of the food chain, we're going to see a change in fishes stock. I know most Belizeans love to eat fish. Most Belizeans, fishermen need fish to survive. And we have an export market for fish as well, and the community and a whole, the entire country depends on the marine life. So manatees are very important to ecosystem. They are great indicator species, and also they have a great economic value. People do come to Belize simply to see manatees. A lot of people are always contacting me, where can I go? And I refer them to tour operators that I know that are good to operators that care for manatees that slow down and will do a good job. But it is important to our economy. I wish more people would see it, and it is important to our country. It puts Belize on the map in terms of conservation.
And, you know, we've been hearing, obviously, from BTB as well, that more and more tourists are coming to the country for the conservation efforts that we have, the manatee population being one of them as well. Now, you speak about having the largest population. What is the estimated population of manatees in Belize? We have the largest population in the world.
In the world. But the population is still small. That is a concern. It's estimated to be just about 1,000. Manatees don't reproduce very quickly. So when you have a lot of deaths, it's very difficult. It takes a male manatee 8 to 9 years to become sexually mature, while a female takes 3 to 4 years. She don't have her first baby until 5 years of age. They're pregnant for 12 months. The calf stay with its mother for 2 to 3 years. So that mother is out of commission for almost 5 years.
Wow.
She don't have another baby for the next 2 to 3 years. She can have 2, but normally only have 1. So when we kill 34 manatees a year, it takes a long time to replace. That's one of the reasons why we don't feel the population has been increasing rapidly.
Because you've had so many deaths.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I feel like if we can address the situation at the river mouth, we'll definitely see a change in the population.
All right. Now, what would you want to say? I mean, have you also engaged perhaps the Tour Guide Association, worked with some of the larger tour operators that you know go through the area and reach out to them personally so that they can ensure their captains are doing what they're supposed to do? I
mean, we've reached out to we've monitored the area to see who uses the area. 2 years ago, we had a tour guide workshop. And it's funny, we saw they were very receptive, and we saw a change after the tour guide workshop. We had 100 tour operators and boat captains there. In 2011, if you look at the 5-year manatee chart, death chart, there's a big dip in 2011. Mainly because we had that Conservation Leadership Program Award project going on at the river mouth, which monitored the area for an entire year. We had the funds to do it. And boaters slowed down. We monitored them and they slowed down. But like everything in Belize, people go back to their old habit, and so we're seeing the effects of it, and we won't stop continue to lobby to them. We won't stop continue to try to get in their ear. But I mean, the goal isn't to penalize anybody. The goal is to make you feel it's important, and then you want to do something about it. I mean, I believe a small group of people coming together with a common intention is the only thing that ever make change. And I think if you can convince these guys that use the area to be owners of the area, to be stewards of the area, then definitely we'll see some relief to manatees in that area.
Well, we have that same hope as you do, Jamal. And hopefully people who have been listening today will be able to because we don't necessarily have to be driving a boat. We can be a passenger and remind our captains to slow down if we see a no-wake zone. Any other upcoming activity that you would like to share?
Well, our campaign never stops.
Yeah.
It's every day, because manatees do die every day. Sometimes people think that we're you may say you're too passionate, you're too sensational, but it's not sensational when you have a dead manatee washing up weekly. That's reality. I mean, it is important, and it's important for Belize, so we ask that Belizeans to be aware of what's happening in their country and to own what belongs to you. I mean, you don't need other people to be telling you this is important. You should see the need and want to change, and each Belizean have some impact on it as well. Whether it's throwing garbage in the waterway, whether it's setting long nets across the rivers or seas, those affect manatees as well. Whether it's destroying the habitat, destroying the mangrove, destroying the area manatees live. Manatees are animals. These animals tend to do just fine on their own until we intervene. Yeah. So we're hoping that tourism can continue to build our economy, and while we continue to protect the things that tourists do come here to see. We don't want to get rid of the things that people come here to see. Tourists don't come to Belize to see massive hotels and jacuzzi. They have those things at home. They want to see the natural environment. They want to see the culture. They want to see what Belizeans have to offer, and all of us as Belizeans should protect that. I mean, growing up, I remember reading this quote, I think it was from Manuel Esquivel, saying that we must teach our young generation, the kids, the importance of conservation and preservation to protect what is ours. Because if we don't teach them that, we had better teach them survival. If we don't protect what we have here, we'll be fighting to survive in years to come. So I think action needs to be taken now, and there's no other time rather than now to get the ball rolling.
All right. right. Well, we want to thank you for joining us and letting us know some of the actions that's going to be taken to address this situation, as it has become a very critical one for the manatee population. And we really hope that people will be inspired to become advocates on their own to ensure that we can preserve the population that we do have in country. Thank you once again, Jamal.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and thanks for the viewers for listening, and we're looking forward to continue working with you guys, and thanks for Channel 5 for always having us and spreading the word out there. I mean, it's great to have awareness and for people to know what's happening. And the next upcoming event, we're going to soon install the buoys and the signs into the river. I'm going to have an opening of the river mouth, so everybody's aware and know what's happening in the area, so that you can see some change in that area.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and take the final break. When I come back, we'll have to wrap up. Stay tuned.